We all do it probably 100 times a day without a second thought. You type a website into your browser, you hit enter, and poof, it's just there. It feels like magic, right? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and see what's really happening behind the scenes. Let's dive into the incredible, hidden journey that happens every single time you go online.
I mean, it really does feel instant, doesn't it? But in that single moment, in that blink of an eye, you've just kicked off this massive global chain reaction. It's like a high-speed relay race involving computers all across the planet. And the starting gun for that race? It fires right inside your own computer.
So, before your request even gets a chance to touch the wider internet, your browser does something really, really smart. You could almost say it's a little bit lazy, but, in the best possible way. It tries to save itself a trip. It checks what's called its cache, which you can think of as its short-term memory. See, if you've been to that site recently, your browser probably saved a copy right there on your computer. If it finds it, bam, the page loads in a flash. But if it's a new site you've never been to, or if the saved copy is out of date, well, that's when the real adventure begins. Okay, so we've hit our first major hurdle. It's a communication problem, really. We humans, we remember websites by their names. Computers, they don't work that way at all. They speak a totally different language, a language of numbers. So how on earth do we bridge that gap? And this is really the heart of it. We remember Google.com. A computer needs a precise address, something like 142.250.190.78. It's called an IP address, and it's basically a unique coordinate for every single thing connected to the internet. So your browser's first real job is to become a translator. To pull this off, your browser uses something called the DNS, or Domain Name System. And honestly, the best way to think about it is as a giant global phone book for the entire internet. Your computer sends the name, and the DNS looks up the matching number, that all-important IP address. And just like that, we have a destination. So now that we have the IP address, your browser knows exactly where to send its request. And I want you to get this. This isn't just a virtual journey happening in the cloud. Nope. This is a very real, physical journey that can cross entire continents in just a fraction of a second. Your request gets bundled up into this tiny packet of data, and it zips out of your computer, through your Wi-Fi, across these enormous routers that act like traffic cops for the internet. And then it literally dives into the ocean. It travels through thousands of miles of fiber optic cables that are laid all along the ocean floor, all to reach its final stop, a computer called a server. So what is a server? Well, don't let the technical name fool you. It's really just a very powerful computer. Its entire job, 24/7, is to store all the files for a website and serve them up to anyone who asks. And when your little request arrives after its worldwide journey, that server instantly springs into action. Think of the server like a worker in a massive warehouse who just got an order. It races around to gather all the pieces you need. First, it grabs the HTML, which is like the skeleton or the basic structure of the page. Then it gets the CSS. That's the paint, the furniture, all the style and design that makes it look good. And finally, it grabs the JavaScript, which is like the electricity that makes everything interactive, the buttons and animations. But here's where the engineering is just brilliant. The server doesn't just stuff all of that into one giant box and mail it back. That would be slow, and if it got lost, you'd get nothing. Instead, it breaks everything down into thousands of tiny little pieces called packets. It's a way faster and much more reliable way to send things across the busy internet. And now we're on the final leg of the trip. Those thousands of packets are now racing back across the globe, all converging right back at your computer. And your browser, it has one last super critical job to do. Turn this absolute flood of data into the website you actually want to see. As these packets start arriving, and here's a fun fact, they might not even show up in the right order, your browser is smart enough to catch them all and piece the puzzle back together perfectly. It acts like a master builder. It uses the HTML to lay the foundation and build the walls. It uses the CSS to paint everything and add the style, and then it runs the JavaScript to flip on the lights and make everything work. And through this whole amazing process, there's a hidden layer of security working the whole time. You know that little lock icon you see in the address bar? The HTTPS? Well, that means that every single packet, both going out and coming back, was completely encrypted. It was all scrambled into a secret code, making it totally unreadable to anyone who might be trying to snoop on the connection. So, the DNS lookup, the trip across the ocean, the server grabbing the files, chopping them into packets, the race back to your computer, and the final assembly. You want to know the most mind-blowing part? All of it, the entire global symphony, happens in less time than it takes you to blink. Usually less than 3 seconds. It's just staggering. So, the next time you visit a website, just take a half second to remember what's going on. That click isn't simple at all. It's this breathtakingly complex, perfectly coordinated global ballet of technology, with computers all over the world working together just to bring that page to your screen.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If that much is happening behind a single simple click, what other invisible symphonies are playing out all around us every single day, powering the modern world that we so often take for granted?